Hey everyone, welcome to the video. I'm here to do a real quick update on starting with Bitcoin and then going and talking a little bit about one of the analysis that I did on Ripple a while back. So I'm going to start with Bitcoin, might touch on Ethereum, but then I'm going to be focusing a little bit on Ripple. So a couple things here. Before I get started, everything I say is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your trades. What I'm about to go over is just my opinion on the market and where things are going from there. Okay. That being said, all right. So there's obviously a fall from our wedge that we have here, and it depends on how you're taking a look at this. Of course, you could take a look at it from a line perspective, and you're looking at it from lines. On the daily, this kind of falls in here and creates a little bit of a symmetrical wedge. You have a little bit of a bull trap here, a little bit of a bear trap there, but ultimately we have fallen over. I'm going to focus a little bit more on candles because I do like to see the wicks here. And what we can definitely see here, we have a clear motive wave that I do believe completed up here at the top. So I do believe this is a completion. I don't believe this is a third, even though this formation does look like a four. I think that this is a little suspect that. Yeah, I don't believe that this is a wedge in its entirety. I do believe that it does have a little bit of this flat bottom that everybody's been kind of talking about, right? So we've got this flat bottom, and of course with the descending trend line up here on the top, as we're working down and just basically getting resistance after resistance, working our way down. I will talk for just a moment if I throw volume on here. Um, which is important. So if I throw volume on here, we can definitely see, and let me throw this, there we go. Okay, there's a couple things that we can see here that's actually pretty important to pay attention to. All right, first things first, when we had our fall down here in November, we had significant amount of volume. And if I go back to 2018, we can see that, we had a decent amount of volume on this impulse in July. And then on this first dump here, volume, it was still pretty high, but it wasn't exceeding what some of our other previous highs were. And what the other thing that I want to pay attention to is when we get to these highs, we have a lot of volume in these nodes, in these candles, but it's a distribution. So same thing here. This distribution on this candle right here, look at this volume. It's a distribution. This price didn't do anything but go down. It ate up a bunch of bids, as market movers take this opportunity to drive up the price, and then they basically turn around and just shove the price back down into your face, for lack of a better term. And that's exactly what happened here. And in a lot of these larger volume candles, they were red candles. So that's indicative of a bear market, especially when you're looking at a descending trend line, which we were seeing here. This looks very similar to what we were experiencing lately here in Bitcoin. So, in other words, we had a high volume node here, which was distribution. We have a high volume node here, which is distribution. Here's another high volume node. So a few days of high volume, and that's the price going down. So again, that's more distribution. This was a serious amount of distribution right here. I actually remember when that happened, it just went down in a matter of a couple hours. The price dropped like I think it was like $1,000 or $1,500 over the course of a day or so. This was another one right here. This candle was green. That's why the volume is green. However, I would say more than 50% of that, if we take a look at it, we opened at 61.93. Nope, that's not the right candle. Let me get the right one here. 61.81 to 68.18. We closed at 64.36. So over 50% of that candle was a rejection. And then when we get down here, again, we see more volume on downward pressure on our way down. Now, as we move over to the beginning of 2019 and working our way into this year, a lot of things that we can see here. Okay, so we have a lot of volume here taking us down, doing a mark down on the price. A lot of accumulation is occurring down here. This candle in particular, the one on February 8th, that was pretty decent. This one right here also on February 17th, February 18th. These were some really good accumulation days, where the price is being marked up. And then the most important thing to show that this was more accumulation and not distribution is zooming into this area. We can see a high volume candle here, a high volume candle here, continuing high volume. And then we had a major move down, but the volume was not as high as it was on this move right here. And there was no follow through on it either. So we moved our way down to the 20 simple moving average. Here, as we can see with this red trend line, this red moving average is the 20 simple moving average. And if you're looking at the Bollinger Bands, that line in the median is the 20 simple moving average. It's pretty simple. We managed to stay above that for a long time, up until the end of March. And then on April 1st, we had a move up, and this move actually, I don't have the moving average open right now, but this actually moved us above a pretty major moving average. But at the end of the day, what this formation has been showing is exactly the same thing that we were seeing. And I'll kind of move this down a little bit to be a little more in line so we can see things from this candle perspective. So we have a flat top, and then we also have this same descending trend line that we were seeing here recently on Bitcoin, but in the opposite direction, of course. And then we have this markup phase. We have more accumulation occurring here. So this is not distribution, this is accumulation. Then we have a lot more volume as a follow through of that. So that further validates that this was an accumulation phase. Same thing here, a lot of volume leading up to this phase, more accumulation occurring, and then you can see we have the volume start to pick up, takes us right up to where we were, where we had what a lot of people are referring to a blow off top. Okay, now, here we are. We have basically the opposite that we saw at the beginning of this year, which, it depends on how you drew this, right? Of course, you could take this from down here, you could turn this into a symmetrical wedge pretty easily. But of course, it is what it is. We have fallen through, so the bigger question remains, where are we going and how far are we going? So that's what I want to focus on right now. I want to focus on where we're going and how far we're going. I'm using my trend-based fib, and I'm going to start from up here, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all the way down here, and I'm going to go to our retest. I'm going to kind of pull this out a bit. So I think high probability we're going to go to 7,500. So there's a couple areas that I want to focus on when I'm talking about 7,500. One is this is a clear indication. This is not an ABC correction by any means. This is definitely going to be a WXY. So this is going to be our W, and this is going to be our X. Maybe you can bring the X out here depending on how you want to count this. I'm just going to count it right up here. And then we're going to moving down for a Y. I do think the Y is going to go down to close to 7,500, maybe 7,550, something along those lines. I expect us to go 100% the length of the W. Okay, so we measured the length of the W going all the way up to our next dominant pivot, which is up here at about 12,300, and looking for a 100% move down to the Y. Okay, so a couple reasons why that number, 7,500, is important. All right, so first off, 7,500, let's get us down. Let's just go ahead and put a trend line right there at 7,500. Let me get it right on the nose, and let's see 7,500. I just want to take a look at where that actually lines up with. First thing that I can see right off the bat, several days of support right there. We had another 2 days of support here, and of course we know what this was. This was a definite desperation move to fill some bids at 6,400, to manipulate the market a little bit, maybe scare some people. I got stopped out. If you're on my channel, you know I got stopped out there because I had a long from about 5,200 that I was planning on holding for a long, long time. And as a responsible trader, I kept moving up my stop loss and eventually got to the point where I got wicked out. And basically, I woke up the next morning and the price had already recovered. And well, it is what it is. It's water under the bridge. But let's take a look here. Let's move back and take a look at 2018. What do we have at 7,500? we have this right here. This was one of our last areas of resistance before we finally broke down. Again, another desperation move to fill shorts as high as possible up here at the 6,800 level. On Bitfinex, I know this went like through the roof. It was crazy. But at any rate, we should have significant support in this zone as we had support here, which started our blow off top. So I do expect there to be a significant amount of support in that area as well, 7,500. Potentially moving ourselves back down to 6,400. That level, I do believe that level is going to have an enormous amount of support if we get down to that level. It is possible for us to get down there. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that, bear market's resuming, we're going down to the dungeon. We're going to go back down here to 4,500, which is the 1618. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that is too low. But I do think that 7,500 is our high probability zone for a bounce. If we fail at 7,500, then I do think our next target is going to be 6,400, which, as we remember, 6,400 is where we churned and churned and churned for a long time. One thing I do not want to see, I do not want to see us move down to this zone at 7,500 and move up and down sideways here. Because if this happens, we're going to turn over and continue to move down. That's not what I want to see. I want us to see us maybe move sideways here for a couple days. That would be okay. And then move down and then move right back up to this zone and then to continue. That's what I really want to see happen. It's okay for us to move sideways, to move down, as long as we move back up quickly. I do not want to see us, again, I don't want to see move sideways and then down and sideways with no reaction, and then it's going to just continue to move down. So just a couple things to pay attention to. If you do happen to settle long down here at 7,500 and you wait for that bid to fill, well, one, setting a bid down there can be a little reckless because you could have a point where you just, like for instance, if you had a bid hanging out right here, right, the price fell right through and you don't really have a chance to get out of there because it happens so fast. If you set a bid down here at 7,500, the chances are it's either going to bounce like I hope it does, or it's going to come down here, move sideways, in which case you can get out of that position, or worst case scenario, we just plow right through it and 7,500 proves to be no support, which I do expect it to have a bit of support, but again, just have to be cautious and be careful of that. Again, if it does fall through there, you're going to be looking for this zone down here at about 6,350 to 6,400 for your next area. That's going to be pretty important. Again, looking at this from support and resistance levels, you're going to have this level right here, which is going to be pretty important. You've got this level right here, which we bounced off of, which is sitting right there at the end of that wick. So a lot of support levels that we do have to plow through in order to even consider that 4,500 is possible. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're going to 4,500. Personally, I believe it's too low. I do think that 7,500 is more likely. I do think that 6,400 is basically like our last hope of our support for Bitcoin. So just kind of keeping that in mind, these are the areas that I'm looking for. All right, I do want to take a look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I will say over the last several days, it has looked pretty good. We did have a bearish retest up here. So this zone that we have here in Ethereum is going to be pretty important to try and kind of break through. So this zone right here, actually let's pull it up just a little bit. This area right here, which is probably going to be our most important resistance to break through if Ethereum is going to turn bullish. Now Ethereum on the daily did just bounce off the 20 simple moving average, which is good. And today it's had a pretty decent reaction. Ethereum versus Bitcoin has had a decent reaction, as has some other alts as well. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind. This impulse right here, it's looking pretty good. And if I'm looking at this, again, starting all the way down here at the bottom, we're looking at September 6th. We have our first move and our second move down, and take a look and see what happened here. So we had a break of the 1618. Now, if we pass the 1618, this is more than likely a 5-wave impulse. We're not looking at this as an ABC correction. What I'm seeing on Ethereum, again, versus Bitcoin, I'm seeing this as a 1, 2, 3, moving our way down here to the 4, and I'm going to assume that this 4 is complete, and then we're going to be looking for a move up to a 5. And I've already outlined this resistance level, and more than likely this is where we're going to hit. And again, if I take Fibonacci and take here and measure the move of the 3, we're going to be looking for like 02375 to potentially 025. So we're going to be looking for this zone to be our major resistance, assuming we are able to break through. So this is where, if you're going to be long on Ethereum, this is where you're going to be looking to take profit in this zone right here. And again, if you wanted to get into a trade down here, which I know, it's hard to gauge where these are going to go, but let's say you get into the market right here, you're going to be looking for potentially a 17 to a 24% move, even from where Ethereum is right now. I would expect Ethereum to potentially maybe retest this level down here at 0.19 or so. So it's possible for us to retest this. Definitely do not want to penetrate this level right here. That 0.018, that level has to remain unpenetrated for us to continue to be bullish. Now, what I will say is this zone right here is going to be our support. So that's good. That's good for anybody that's in an Ethereum trade. So again, this is our support level. This would be an area to buy, in my opinion, all the way down to 0.018. Below that, I would not buy. Below that, I do think that we are breaking support and we're going to continue to move lower. But as long as we continue to spring in this area, that's going to be good. On the day, we still have about 6 or 7 hours left on the day. If we're able to break above 0.02 or 0.021 or so, that would be a good sign for a continuation to the upside. You're going to expect to see another 5-wave impulse on this 5th move, so just kind of keep that in mind. And again, on the day, Ethereum looks really, really bad, but this 5-wave impulse, I'm looking for this to be more of a 1, and then to move down here to a 2, probably going to bounce in this zone again at 0.019. So you're still going to get a chance, even if you're not in right now and you don't take this trade and it goes all the way up here, chances are pretty good it's going to continue and move back down here to this area. So again, just speaking a hypothetical before I move over to Ripple like I promised that I would, moving down here to the bottom, and let's just say hypothetically Ethereum stops up here at 0.25. Okay, we're going to be looking for a move down to 0.02 all the way down here to 0.019. So we're still looking for another bounce down to this area, and this is going to be perfect for a golden zone move. And if we're able to do that, we're going to get our pitchfork out, we're going to look for a high probability trade, and we're going to be looking to move ourselves back up. Even higher than this. But again, it's going to take time for that to happen. It's going to take months for this to happen. We're just talking this month, we were able to move all the way up here. We're starting to come down and we're going to, continue to finish ourselves up here. Again, this is probably looking to be, the first or second week of October for us to get up to this top before we eventually start to roll over and come back down. Okay, all right, last but not least. Ripple. I'm going to go to Poloniex because Poloniex has the most amount of trading data on here. I'm going to go to the weekly chart and I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. Okay, and again, I posted this on TradingView just a couple days ago. I might make a couple, just a couple small changes to this. I'm going to move this little guy down here. Actually, I'm going to keep him. I'm going to move this about to right there. What I will recognize that we did, and again, I'm on a weekly chart, we did penetrate the bottom of this channel. We are trying to close inside of it. I'm not invalidating this trade yet because fact of the matter is the majority of these trades go in waves of 5. So this would be an easy 1, an easy 2, and then this is an easy 3, and working our way down to a 4. It's okay for us to penetrate the bottom of this trend line a little bit. As long as we are able to close back inside of it, then we'd be looking for a move up to a 5. And again, on a 5, I was looking particularly, and I'll go ahead and zoom in on this right here. just to kind of show where we're looking at. Again, I'm looking at about 1775 for like for my dream, if you will. I don't actually have that as a real target to hit. So just to keep that under wraps. A couple things I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for a hit of this median, which could go to $3, could do a $6, but at the end of the day, we could definitely get a good truncation on this fifth move as long as Ripple maintains above 24 cents against real US dollars, not Tether. I guess you could look at it against USDC or something like that. As long as we're able to stay above 24 cents. Right now we're at about 24.7 cents. For me, that's okay. I'm not going to freak out because Ripple versus Bitcoin is still doing okay. It's still holding pretty well. So again, as long as Ripple versus Bitcoin stays above 2,400, as long as Ripple versus the US dollar stays above 24 cents, I do think that we have some upside to go. And again, really looking here at 46 cents, that's going to be an important level to pay attention to. Here's another one that I need to pay attention to. So these two levels, this was resistance and it was support. So it is prior support that has turned resistance, clear resistance. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. We're not talking days or hours, weeks that this was resistance. So I'm going to be looking at 46 cents, which is almost 100% from where we currently are. So again, looking at this from a P&L perspective, if you open this trade right now, we're looking at 46 cents to be 94.93%. Now, stop loss on something like this, you're not going to want to stop loss all the way down here where it's suggesting. But you're going to want to set your stop loss, fairly conservative. This is a good cluster. This zone right here, just like we were talking about when we were looking at the Bitcoin charts, this cluster is an accumulation cluster, and I would highly suggest buying in this zone. Buying into the zone all the way down to potentially 15 cents, although I do not want to see it get that low. If it gets down to 15 cents, I'm probably going to be looking to get out at a pretty hefty loss. But as long as it stays close to 24 cents and continues to trade in that area, I'm going to be, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be looking to take some profit at 46 cents and probably rebuy on a retest of this 20 simple moving average on the weekly, which right now is about 34 cents. So I'm going to take some profit off here and I'm going to reaccumulate a little bit. I'm not taking 100% profit. I'm just going to take a little profit and I'm going to rebuy in this zone again once we retest this. This next level right here, which was support, turned resistance. Again, 3 weeks of resistance. I will expect this to be significant resistance. This is at 90 cents. So again, we're at 24 cents. We're talking 300% from where we currently are up here at this zone. So, 25, 50, 75 cents. So sorry, that's 200% from where we currently are, not 300%. And then I'm going to be looking for, my final take profit's probably going to be up here at about, $1.50 or so. If we get above this zone, I really think Ripple will have already just started to fly. We have these massive candles here. Something that I will point out that I didn't point out in the analysis that I put on TradingView is the volume. Okay, let's take a look at the volume. Our volume was heaviest down here, huge accumulation in March of 2017. Basically we have a whole bunch of people that accumulated at 6 cents or less, and then more markup up here, which kind of gets us to where we currently are. Lots of markup. We had a little bit of a blow off, but then of course we had the follow through in December of 2017, which got us all the way up here. Retail investors got up to $3.50 or so. And now we're back here where we are. We are creating a bottoming formation, in my opinion. And in my opinion, of course, I could be wrong, but it does look like we should be rounding off down here a little bit and start to move back up. And again, we're talking about weeks, we're not talking days, so you can't freak out when the price goes down a little bit. So again, I'm going to be looking for this to start to curve back up a bit. I'm going to be looking for this on a weekly, on the log scale. I'm going to be looking for this to close inside of this trend line and to start to move back up, even if it's just a little bit. getting close to that 35 to 38 cents, getting close to that weekly 20 simple moving average, which is at 33 cents. And I'm going to want to see us close above that. And of course, on other time frames, lower time frames, I'm going to be looking at the 21 exponential and the 55 exponential as we start to move up and get closer to that. Okay. All right. Sorry this went long. I wanted to keep it short, but at the same time, I wanted to give you a little bit, more information. We're at about 25 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. But again, if you have any questions on the on any of my analysis, feel free to challenge me on the Discord. If you need an invite to the Discord, please feel free to ask me for an invite, send me a DM, and I'll be more than happy to get an invite code for you. Otherwise, hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Have a good day, and I'll see you out in the Discord.